That's new to me, to be honest. Well, we're just both two hungry men.
Yeah.
Trying to
we need some food.
find some food. And then we'll see where the day and night takes us.
Oh, lit. So this trip to Dallas was very spontaneous. My friend Nando invited me to go to the NBA finals. It took a little bit to convince me, but not as much as it would have taken me years ago. And I want to say part of that is due to my willingness to do more spontaneous things. Those that know me know that I'm not a sports person. And I definitely didn't get converted into one from watching this either, but something as unique as a finals, NBA finals for example, carries some significance just for the fact that the atmosphere that gets created, just like any other time in life essentially, but it's very unique. And as much as there's politics, economic, legal, social, so many dimensions of drama that goes on for games, and just like the foundation of what the true intent of people being there is, there's no doubt that there's something inherently human about being in the environment. And as much as it's a non-traditional method of experiencing life, or spirituality specifically, there are things to be gained from it. And I think the whole point is that no matter what spiritual journey you're on, if you're able to see the bigger picture, and I'm using the term loosely here, there is knowledge to be gained from the experience. So I was in Dallas for essentially 2 days. It was my first time being in the middle of the country, essentially. I've been to a lot of places on the East Coast, a few places on the West Coast, but nowhere in the middle like this one. And considering how Texas is technically part of the South, it was a different experience from being in Georgia or North or South Carolina, or even here in Florida, and especially here in Florida. There were some observations I made about people's habits and just norms things that are considered normal in that area that I wouldn't really consider normal from my experience growing up. But there was this one time I ordered a grilled cheese, and there's nothing on the menu that said that it had anything special inside of it, and I asked the server, is there anything special about this grilled cheese, or is it a normal grilled cheese? And he said, it should be your plain old grilled cheese. And I said, okay, let me get that. And when it came out, it had pickles in it. And when I asked the server to change it, he gave me this why are you being so difficult type of reaction. And as he was taking away, he's check the menu and see if it says anything else that you don't want on the sandwich. And as I said, the menu didn't say it had anything, and I asked the server initially, is there anything special inside this grilled cheese? And he said no. So he took it back, and then someone else came out to give me a real plain old grilled cheese. And he apologized and stuff, but it was just interesting. The only other time I've had things put in grilled cheese was at a grilled cheese restaurant, where it's you got options, and they say what it is, but it's fine. It's just it might seem more tiny, but I feel all these little things are things that people assume to be normal, depending on the world that they're in, and just the societal norms that exist in their area. So it doesn't strike them as weird until someone else comes in and says something different. As a tangent though, so coming back. It's just definitely a lot different in a place like Texas versus a different part of America. And there's things that are similar, of course. There's a lot of the same stories. The roads are pretty similar, other than the amount of overpasses that exist in Texas for whatever reason. A lot of the same conveniences and affordances are kind of there, although the basic assumptions might be different. I think it's important that these assumptions, people are aware about them, because they affect how you understand life, and specifically as it relates to technology. If you're assuming a different default, you're whole method of interacting with technology will be different. If you consider like Android versus Apple, for example, I drove for a little bit in Texas, and it was my first time using Apple Maps, and I thought it sucked. And that's not something like state specific. Those who know me like know I'm an Android user, but all the data is there. All the data I'm sure is the same, but the presentation of it and the assumptions of like where you have to look, what the lines mean, how fast the map updates relative to like the car, it changes the whole experience, and it makes it easier or harder to use depending on your perspective, you know? So we're all essentially living in this pseudo state where not everyone has the same assumptions, if you will, and it just takes longer for us to get on the same page for something like explaining what should be more universally accepted concepts. So like, for example, there's the physical, social, and mental aspects of technology, and if you're viewing technology from any particular perspective, you'll understand the utility of that technology differently, and specifically as it comes to like data privacy and security and stuff like that, understanding how that data is stored physically versus logically, and then how you translate that data between systems, between people. All of those concepts that need to be universal going forward, because as the world gets more digital and fundamentally technologically advanced, there's going to be a lot of core concepts, fundamental knowledge that if you don't know, it's just going to make it harder to operate in the world. And for one, it's going to create cases where users are forgotten or lost, and you wouldn't know that until it's too late. And after they're lost or forgotten, how do you come back from that? You know, the damage is already done, if you will. So yeah, there's a lot goes into that. We'll talk more about that later. Let's look at this game for a little bit.
We gotta go up one.
And bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star
Once you got taken, bro. Damn.
I know. So the day after the game, Nando and I needed not a break per se, but we wanted to change it up a little bit. So we went to this Museum of Nature and Science, and it was like a throwback for me in the sense that a lot of the K through 12 science and stuff that you learn, it was all there. And it's one of the things we joked about was that oh, you don't have to go to school, just come to the museum every day and you'll learn as much as you should have learned in K through 12. I feel like science specifically is a double-edged sword, because I'm all for questioning life and doing the scientific method, but a lot of science, just like life that humans create, is made up in the sense of the terms that people use are made up, and the hierarchies or frameworks that people create to understand the knowledge that science derives is all made up. And under the hood, the core fundamentals of science is no different from a lot of other aspects to life, but it just makes it a lot more difficult to understand because it requires you to adopt this doctrine of diction and mindset to understand the philosophy behind what it is that's happening. So I just think that we could do it better, It's inefficient in a lot of ways, and a lot of that goes back to the point about all the different worlds that people exist in. Science becomes a world that people can share, so no matter what you're thinking about in your head about understanding the core concepts, if you learn science, the language of science well enough, you can explain what you know to others using this framework. And there's a lot of benefits to that, but also I think that the evolution of the language that science has created has put it on a path that makes it not as trustable or trustworthy, because a lot of scientists grapple with believing in their faith, whether it's one of the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, or like for me, Hinduism, and others like Buddhism or some like Jainism. And there's this stark contrast that gets drawn from religion and science, and just like the Constitution tries to keep religion and politics separate, it's like you can only go so far because everything in life is connected, and you have to learn to live in more than one world essentially at any given time. So like religion, science, politics, all of them coexist. I mean, they coexist but not necessarily peacefully. So getting us to understand how to, I want to use the phrase teleport between worlds here, is important, because there are however many billion of people in the world, however many thousands or hundreds of thousands of cultures, and the people you encounter, you don't know where they're from, where they're going, what they're dealing with in the current day, and how much friction that may exist between you and them. I just feel like we're all here together, right? So we shouldn't default to expecting there to be friction between people. Like if something is wrong, there should be a greater level of understanding that it's not about being right or wrong. There is a difference, and learning how to either accept that difference or work towards getting those differences to coexist more harmoniously or even merge together, I think should be the priority, which is not in a lot of cases. And one of the last things I'll end on for now, because this is not really about Dallas anymore, but in the museum there were these career inspiration stories that were essentially the day in the life of real scientists in the field, and it was super cool to see it when I was growing up and wanted to be like a seismologist or an ornithologist or even a chef, or like I definitely want to be a chemist at one point, and like all these different fields that I wanted to explore. If I had to say whether I really understood it, obviously back then I would have said yes, but knowing what I know now, like I was not given the preparation to understand what it meant to be a professional in the field, whether that's in science or anything else. And as much as I appreciate that these stories are being told, I think we have to do a better job of bridging the gap between academia, specifically like on a K through 12 level, and working in the field. Because with the amount of experience, years of professional development that exists at the current state, not even like over the years, just like the current number of hours or years that people that are living today right now in the present have, there should be a lot less friction between academia and working in the field. But that doesn't change overnight, and there's a lot of growth that society needs in general to be able to meet that need. So all in all, not a big fan of Dallas. It's a cool city. It has its positives and negatives, just like everywhere else. I'll definitely give a more in-depth review when I actually visit on my own during my road trip. This was a pre-trip that gave me a lot of insight into kind of what to expect while traveling, and I'll definitely cover that in a different video about some of the lessons I've learned trying to prepare for this trip, which was a whole struggle in its of itself. Tying it back to the opening thought though, opportunity is a lot more present than people give it credit for, and some people might not like me calling opportunity risk, but the only difference between risk and opportunity is that we view opportunity as positive, whereas risk can be positive or negative. Well, most likely is a negative thing. The reason why I wanted to draw a similarity between opportunity and risk is because for opportunity to really be opportunity, it has to be or look like something that we don't know. Because if it looked like something that we did know, we wouldn't be looking for opportunity. We would be content, happy, satisfied with whatever we had in our current life, and we wouldn't need a quote-unquote opportunity to change that.